In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, me and my brother James, we are going to share our thoughts from the 2025 McDonald's All-American game. We were live in Brooklyn. We were there, so we were able to evaluate some of the top prospects from the 2026 NBA draft in person. So stay tuned to hear our thoughts on the 2025 McDonald's All-American game. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my brother, James Barlowe. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And if you are not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Board YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, and click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode. And also, your favorite NBA team and your favorite Locked On NBA podcast has a newsletter. So whatever team you support, whether it is Locked On Lakers, Locked On Knicks, Locked On Hawks, check it out at lockedondaily.com. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every single day. All right, it is Wednesday afternoon. I don't know why I thought Monday. It is Wednesday afternoon. James and I just landed back in Dallas from Brooklyn. We were there from Saturday evening until early this morning. We were able to attend the practice for the 2025 McDonald's All-American game, and we were at the game that took place last night. And so we're just going to share our thoughts on some of the guys who stood out. All right, James, this was your first McDonald's experience. What were your overall takeaways from the game and the practice?
The game in general was competitive, and that was a good sign to see the guys go out there and compete. I personally think it kind of got a little chippy between a couple of the guys. Maybe that was just me. Maybe that could be me reaching, but it was competitive. Guys are out there trying to make plays. Obviously, from the practices, every NBA team is there. So it's like, let me go out there and compete. So I wish the teams or the rosters could have got mixed up a little better, but I understand, it's East versus West format. But overall, I had fun. I came away impressed with a lot of the young guys at the event over the weekend.
Yeah, this was my second game. I thought the game was okay. Kind of lacked some intensity in a sense. And maybe it's just a high school game in an NBA arena, but it just seemed like it just lacked the intensity that I would have expected. Yes, I understand.
The intensity from the game or the atmosphere?
I think that they all go together. Like if the game is really, really competitive, then it kind of sets the tone for the atmosphere. It was okay, but there were just times where I felt like I've seen much liver high school games between just regular local schools.
Yeah, but you also got to factor in a regular school, you're going to bring in the fans, you're going to have the cheerleaders. It's going to be a much smaller atmosphere so you can capture everything, just like the sound. Whereas we're at a neutral site, we're in New York, and if you don't have an immediate relationship with the kids on the floor, it may be hard to get behind some of the kids. I thought they played hard.
Yeah, I didn't think they didn't play hard, but it was okay. All right, let's talk about AJ Dybantsa, the projected number one pick in the 2026 NBA draft. He had 17 points, 5 rebounds, was 7 of 12 from the floor. Had some good moments. I can't say it was like a dynamic performance from him, but that just shows you how talented he is. If he has a quiet 17 points on 7 of 12 shooting. What were your thoughts on AJ's performance?
I liked what I saw from AJ. And again, you factor in his teammate was Darryn Peterson, right? So it's like in that situation, when we see AJ, normally it's him and some of the other guys. Well, the other guys on his team are possibly future NBA players, first round picks, top 5 picks. I was impressed with what he did. He showed you he could score in the post. And I will say the most impressive thing that I saw from him And it just goes to show, I guess, what kind of team player he was. He was the roll man and pick and roll with, I believe, Michael Brown Jr. Maybe it was even Darryn Peterson too. So like the willingness to put yourself in a different position to score the basketball from him was, I thought that was great. I thought he was really good. He shows you a lot of the stuff that he normally does, and then he shows you a different facet to his game. At 6'9", he can be the roll man and be the athlete that he is too.
Yeah, not to nitpick too much. I just thought it was interesting that he did not attempt a single three-pointer. Did a lot of his work as the roll man, but he was 3 or 4 from the foul line, 5 rebounds. He did have 1 assist. All right, let's talk about Darryn Peterson. Darryn Peterson is probably the biggest challenger to be the number 1 pick. I've talked to some people, you were there, that believe that he is going to be the number 1 pick. One of the things that I noticed with Darryn, and this was my first time watching him live. I think you saw him live last summer, but my first time watching him live at the practices, at the games. And the thing that stood out to me was he has a different gear that he can get to. Like, he has this unique ability to be poised and patient. And at the same time, he can go from 0 to 100, but it is effortless. It's almost like your high-end luxury car on the highway that can go from 0 to 100, and it just feels like, it just doesn't feel like the car is moving that fast. I don't know if that's the best way to translate it, but when you see him in person, you just see that he has another level of speed and a gear that he can get to. And I thought Peterson was impressive. He led all scorers. He was 7 of 14 from the floor. If there was a knock on his performance, he was 1 of 6 from 3, but he chipped in with 7 rebounds. He had 3 assists, did a lot of his work in transition in the open court, but you saw the competitive fire in him. He was getting steals. He was making plays. And then even in the practices, you could just see like this guy is different. What were your thoughts on Peterson's performance?
Everything you said. And again, he had 3 steals, and like he was competing. You saw him playing the passing lanes. It wasn't trying to steal alley-oops. Like, he was out there, and you see he has a complete package as an offensive player. He's not just a very good, great athlete. Like, he's skilled. He's got pace. You saw him hit a pull-up jumper. Even the threes that he missed, I saw in the scrimmage he was hitting step-back threes, side-step threes. Like, that dude is cold at basketball. And, he's got a different demeanor to his game than Ace, but I really do think he does have an opportunity to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Overall, he was impressive. He led all scorers with 18 points. He was the co-MVP. But let's talk about the other co-MVP, which was Cameron Boozer. Cameron Boozer. I mean, he was just productive. Double-double, 16 points, 12 rebounds with 6 of 12 from the floor. Got to the foul line 6 times. He missed all of his threes. I thought his performance was about what I expected. And this was, I hadn't seen him in a while, but he just is just more physically dominant than everyone else. Like, I feel like AJ has like an NBA ready body, while Cameron Boozer has like a grown man body, like thick upper body, thick lower legs. He's just physically strong. It's not going to wow you. I felt like his legs looked a little heavy. Then there were times where he would like make an athletic play. And I'm like, okay, he does have some juice in those legs. But overall, I thought he was solid. I think that he's going to be absolutely dominant on the college level. He's my early prediction to be College Player of the Year next year. But I still believe that, I think as far as just upside, I think that AJ and Darryn have a higher upside. I think Boozer may have the safest floor in a sense, but I also feel like he's not a 4 in the NBA. He is going to have to play the 5, and he's a little bit undersized to play the 5.
I feel like you're stealing my sauce, man, because I was going to say I want to know what position does Cameron Boozer play in the NBA, because we saw him trying to handle the ball on the perimeter, and guys can get better. He's young, but he's still 17. You can get better at handling the ball in the perimeter, but there's a certain level of fluidity that he does not have to, in my opinion, to play on the perimeter as a 4 in the modern NBA. So his advantages, strength, rebounding, just being a really good basketball player, maybe those advantages are at the 5 position in the NBA, but he's going to absolutely be super productive in college. Like you said, he had what, 17 and 12?
16 and
And
12.
16 and 12, and it just felt like, oh wow, he had 16 and 12. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like dominant in a sense where he was, you saw this, you saw that. There weren't a lot of wild plays, but that doesn't necessarily matter is what I'm trying to say. He's always going to be productive.
Yeah, I mean, you take 16 and 12 in 23 minutes. He did have 4 turnovers. But overall, I just thought, like, I mean, this guy is going to be a dominant college player. But I think as far as NBA upside, I would take AJ and I would take Darren ahead of him. But that's just me. That is just me. But when it comes to like accolades and resume, he can make a case and say that he has the best high school resume in the history of U.S. basketball. 4 state tournaments. What is he? 2-time National Gatorade Player of the Year.
3 times
3
YBL.
YBLs. And so he's going to Duke next year. But I definitely think that he's one of the safer prospects. It's just something about like the wow factor, the upside. There's 2 guys I'm for sure taking ahead of him. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, which is the best place for daily fantasy sports. And with Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it is strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every single Major League Baseball game exciting. Prize Picks is fast and simple. It takes less than 60 seconds to set your lineups. And when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. You can always take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. So download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is the code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, let's talk about Chris Cenac Jr. I thought he really, really helped himself with his performance. I've always been intrigued by the talent, and I feel like the talent and the production hasn't always been on the same page. But yesterday he had 11 points, 7 rebounds. He was 5 of 9 from the floor. He hit a 3. His first basket was like a self-created pull-up jumper. With his size at 6'10", I think that he has real NBA All-Star upside.
Yeah, I saw him over All-Star break. I believe they played Montverde, and he was at Link. And I texted you, and I was texting you, Ralph, and I was like, man, he's talented, but he was just out there running around, almost doing nothing. Like, it was a bad game. And I don't want to judge the kid off of one game. And I don't want to basically judge him off of this game. But what I saw last night at the McDonald's All-American game was a totally different player. And you get exactly why NBA teams are going to love him, because like you said, his first basket, it was a bang, bang turnaround jumper. Then he hit a corner 3. The jumper looks great. He had to put another play in the second half where he probably should have shot the catch and shoot 3, but he attacked the closeout, got big, and got fouled. Like, he has so much talent. His thing is going to be, how much of it is he going to be able to harness the talent? Because he has all the physical tools. Like, dare I say, he looks Anthony Davis-like on offense. Now, again, Anthony Davis' impact is humongous defensively, blocking shots. He's one of the best defenders the last 30 years. But offensively, like, he looks like Anthony Davis. And I absolutely get why the team will be like, I can work with that.
Yeah, the physical tools are impressive, the way he moves. The shot just looked good. It looked like he has a soft touch, and well, he does have soft touch, but it looks like it's going to project to being a above average shooter. And I think that he went to a good school. I've had some debates with different people about him choosing to go to Houston. I think for him, when you're that talented and consistency is one of your concerns, I think Kelvin Sampson is the type of coach that would get it out of you, because if you're a freshman and you're highly touted, but you're not producing, Kelvin Sampson's not going to play you because of your ranking. He's going to push those buttons and he's going to make you defend. And I think if Cenac can show more intensity and consistency, I think he's a top 5 pick. All right, let's switch to Nate Ament. Nate Ament is the biggest name that is undecided, 6'10". The rumors are, everything that we heard, that people believe that all signs are pointing towards Louisville. But Nate Ament had a solid performance, 12 points, 3 of 6 from the floor, made both of his threes, was 4 of 6 from the foul line, 3 rebounds. He is slim. He is very slim. I thought he was going to struggle, but when you look at the box score, you look at the game, there were times in the game where it looked like he struggled a little bit with the physicality. But when you look at the box score, it looks like he did totally fine. Like I said, 12 points in 20 minutes. He's oozing with talent. You see the upside, the fluidity, the positional size, the shooting. I just wonder how well it translates to college basketball next year, unless he's able to put on 15 pounds, and it has to be the right pounds.
He needs more than 15.
But I'm just saying, like, slowly. You don't want to see him put on 30 and it mess him up. He needs to put on the right pounds. But in order for him to put on the right pounds, it will have to be gradual. And I wonder, is it still enough gradually to really like have an impact on college basketball next year? Because the talent is there.
Yeah, the talent is definitely there. Again, I shared the same concerns with you as far as his strength. I know he got loose early. I believe he had a 4 guarding him, and you saw him be able to put the ball on the ground and make a play. And then I know he caught Michael Brown Jr. on a couple of switches, which allowed him to get to the foul line. But when Tounde Yessoifu, I want to say, hopefully I said the young man's last name correctly, but when they put him on there, all of that stuff got shut down. Like, he couldn't move him. He couldn't go by him. He was stood straight up. I want to say one of those free throw attempts, they bailed him out because the defense was great. So while I get the upside and the intrigue of Nate Ament at 6'10", 190, probably, the last guy at 6'10", and I don't think he's a great athlete. He's coordinated, yes. He's fluid, yes. But at 6'10", 190, and he doesn't have a lot of pop, he's going to have to be a shooter, which he can do. But I think the physicality is going to have to – I think it's going to limit him in a sense as far as, like, how good he's going to be, just because he just doesn't have, like, any strength. And not to say that he can't get stronger, but, like, it's going to take a lot of strength for him to be able to unlock being able to put the ball on the ground. Just because, like you said, anybody with any muscle is going to stand him up, and he can't get to that spot. But as a roll man, he'll be able to shoot and probably be a better athlete in space. I just don't know if I'm buying a lot of the perimeter handle that he does have in his game at the next level.
Yeah, I think that it can translate, but he's going to be an interesting study because next year he's just going to have to show flashes. I imagine he's going to have some struggles just due to the physicality. But from an NBA team perspective, you're going to project where is he going to be 3-4 years down the line, like not what he is today. I have a question for the Locked On NBA Big Board listeners. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is very, very easy to lose track. And that is where Monarch Money comes in. It is your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is not just your regular budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending all in one place. So you stop managing your money and you can start building wealth. So instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track your spending, and even your long-term goals. And even managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, you can set goals, and you can stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code Locked On NBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code Locked On NBA for half off your first year. All right, let's switch over to Alijah Arenas. He was the fan favorite at the game. Every time he touched the ball, he had the oohs and the ahs. He had one man yelling every time he made something happen. And the funny thing was the man was like, "You don't pass like your dad." and Alijah did not have a single assist. He struggled early. He really struggled early. We were talking about like, hey, is this step up in competition? Is this due to him not playing in the toughest league in California, which was handpicked by his dad because his dad wanted to see him lead? But overall, he finished strong. He had 11 points, was 4 of 9 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3, 1 of 2 from the foul line, but 0 rebounds and 0 assists. And similar to Nate Ament, he is someone that is going to have to really work on his body. Like I thought, had some issues creating space or getting loose when he was faced up against a defender that kind of matched his physicality or lack, or let me say this, when he went up against a defender that came to play physical with him and kind of took him out of his sweet spots.
Yeah, I don't know if. See, at first it looked like, oh man, he might bit off way more than he could chew, and I don't even think we missed the Saturday practice. We were there for the Sunday practice. He didn't really stand out at all in the Sunday practice, and we talked to somebody and they said, the practices were just aight. I don't remember seeing him doing anything in the scrimmage. Again, I could be wrong, but early on, I don't know if it was the atmosphere. I don't know if he was nervous because it happens. He's still kids to an extent. But he kind of started to get it going a little later towards the end. And it wasn't just because of the score differential. Like, guys were still competing at the end of the game. So that was a positive sign. Again, it's unfair to compare him to his dad, but like, he doesn't have that turbo that his dad had, like, not even close. And I'm not saying he's a bad athlete. He just doesn't have that gear that Gilbert had. Long term, I don't know what it's going to look like for him at USC. Again, dominoes are still falling because guys are entering the portal every minute of the hour. So, but he's probably somebody to monitor to see how it works out. But he does need to get stronger. And I don't know. I guess the most concerning thing is that he was passing up open shots last night. And I don't know if that's because you're not used to not having the ball in your hand. And I know that is an adjustment, but like, you can't pass up catch and shoot jumpers. Like, that's all you can ask for in any event. Like, I can make one of these and this opens up other stuff for me. So
yeah, it took him a little while to get going. Speaking of getting it going, Zai Harwell, when he got it going, he was cooking. He didn't score his first basket until, I want to say it was like 9 minutes into the third quarter. Well, after he saw that first one go in, it was up from there. 16 points in 18 minutes. He was 6 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3. And he just showed you what he's capable of. One, I'm glad to see that he's back playing. I know that I think he had an ACL injury that made him miss some of his junior year and part of the summer circuit. He looked totally healthy yesterday. Again, 6 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3. When he got in the third quarter, made a 3. He had a tip dunk. He had a self-created mid-range pull-up. Then he had a 3 off the dribble. I like his positional size. I like the promise as a shooter. He's also going to Houston. And one of the things I liked about him that I saw was that he competed on both ends of the floor, had 2 steals. And if you're a guy that likes to defend and you got this toughness and this competitive fire, you're going to shine at the University of Houston. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on Zai Harwell and his performance.
Yeah, he was good. And like we had mentioned, I was like, did he play in the first half? And then it just three-pointer. And I mentioned in the earlier, like, I felt like it got kind of chippy. I think he was out there and he saw Darryn. Again, I might be making this up, but who cares? I saw him and Darryn Peterson have two moments on the floor where he kind of gave Darryn Peterson a little push on a fast break dunk, and it was a breakaway dunk, and you could tell Darryn Peterson was like, "Yo, what are you doing, dog? Like, it's an All-Star game. Even if it's not an All-Star game, I'm ahead of you. What are you doing?" Gave him that look. And there was another play where, they call timeout, and then the guy has the ball in his hand. Darryn Peterson had the ball in his hand. Harwell smacked his arm. Maybe, something was there. Both teams are in the Big 12. Houston and Kansas. Maybe there's something there we're going to see. I don't know, but he was knocking down shots. He brought some intensity. He was very impressive. And Houston, with those three freshmen that they have, the two of them that did play in the game, it'd be interesting to see what it looks like, because they normally, throw out a bunch of OGs to play, and they're going to have three freshmen next year who all have a lot of talent. So it's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of OGs, Juwan Roberts was in the high school class of 2019. Let's talk about a few other players real quick. I want to talk about Shon Abaev. Shon Abaev is a player that we first saw at Basketball Without Borders in Indianapolis last year at All-Star Weekend. A player that I just thought, like, man, this guy is talented. He can shoot. He's a gifted scorer. Has the confidence that you like in a guy that is a scorer. And I thought his performance yesterday was up and down, depending on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at the positives, he was 3 of 4 from the floor, made 2 of 3 from 3. He had just 6 points, but you saw the shooting. I'm sorry, he had 8 points, but you saw the shooting, you saw the positional size. Then you saw, like, all right, he's an okay athlete. I don't know if he's going to be able to get by guys, but he had 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers in 13 minutes is pretty difficult to do. And so I thought you saw, like, the good in him as far as the shooting and the size, but then you also saw, like, the decision making. And I went back to look at my notes from Basketball Without Borders, and I'm like, yes, he can score, but do not put the ball in his hands and ask him to make something happen. But it comes to just shooting, he's got it.
Yeah, everything you said. And he was somebody who was trying to put the ball on the ground. Actually, at Basketball Without Borders, he was putting the ball on the ground some, but it was different. Like, go ahead.
It was ugly.
Yeah, it was. Well, at Basketball Borders, it wasn't good, but it was like, it's not really his strength. And then last night at the McDonald's game, it was like, oh, that's really not his strength. Like, he doesn't have the flexibility to, like, get low or handle the strength. That's not there. But if you sit here and say, hey, you stand in that corner and knock down shots at 6, because he's a legit 6'7", 6'8", he's going to be deadly from there. So it's going to be interesting how he unlocks himself as a scorer at the next level, with being limited off the dribble and not even being like how Khan Kneppel has turned himself into a playmaker, because I understand that I got this many amounts of dribbles I need to pass. Or even with, I guess if you want to make the lazy complexion comparison, Will Riley, who has a similar size, maybe a little skinnier, but how he's, okay, once I get a couple of dribbles, I can make plays. Shon Abaev needs to develop that for him to be a serious NBA prospect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've never seen him pass. That's just, I'm being funny, but I still have never seen him pass. He didn't have any assists yesterday. I think for him, it's going to be all about the mentality. Does he see himself as a scorer? Probably so, but I think his success is going to have to transition from being a scorer to a shooter, and there is a difference. All right, let's talk about a few more players. All right, another guy that really caught my eye was Kentucky commit Malachi Moreno. He had 9 points. He was 4-5 from the floor. He had 5 rebounds in just 16 minutes. He hit a 3. What was interesting about watching him play is I wasn't really familiar with him as a prospect, but I couldn't figure out which hand he was, because he shot the 3 right-handed, but all of his finishes in the paint were left-handed. And so I thought he played well on defense. He was, yes, it's an all-star game, and people will probably throw unnecessary lobs in all-star games. You see that all the time. But he was the one that was getting steals and breaking up those lobs. He had a big block where He blocked a three at the end of the second quarter, like went out on the perimeter and blocked a three. And I thought he really helped himself. He had 2 blocks, like I said, 5 rebounds. He had an assist. He let the game come to him. And I just thought that he really helped himself as far as making a statement in front of NBA scouts.
Yeah. I want to talk about Darius Acuff. I know he is I believe he was the number 1 point guard in this class. And he had an interesting game. Now, in the practice, I did catch a little bit. His jump shot is amazing. Like, it's pretty. It looks like it's going in every single time. I thought he got off to a rough start in the game. He ended up shooting, I believe, 4 of 13.
4 of 14.
4 of 14. I think I want to say he was 1 for 8 from 3. And it looked like he was, I don't know, maybe he was pressing, but the ball was kind of like stopping in his hands in the first half. He did finish with 4 assists. But as far as like at the next level, I'm buying him as a shooter. It's going to be interesting to see how he manages being a scoring point guard, especially at Arkansas, because his teammate, who also loves to get him up, definitely not shy, Malik Thomas, is a scorer. And then we don't know who's coming back at Arkansas, right? Because, I mean, DJ Wagner, who knows what he does? Who knows what Boogie Flan does? They still got Carter Knox, Billy Richmond. Like, it'd be interesting to see how that dynamic works at Arkansas with all of those guys who seemingly feel like they need the ball to be successful.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. That's something I'm going to be monitoring because right now, if you look at it, based off of where we're at today, which is April 2nd, DJ Wagner's on the roster. Boogie hasn't declared. We heard rumors that he's considering the draft, but also like not ruling out coming back to school. Then you got Carter Knox, you got Billy Richmond, then you bring in Malik Thomas, who was in this game. All right, 2 players I want to talk about really quick that caught my attention. One is Tounde Yessoifu. So hopefully we're not pronouncing that wrong. He was 4 of 13 from the floor, but he was all over the place on defense. I wish he were a little bigger. He's listed at 6'5", is more of a forward than a wing, but he had 9 points, 3 assists, 6 steals, had some athletic plays. We were calling him Granthony Edwards because it looks like he just stole Anthony Edwards' whole swag as far as like where he wears the armband. Good athlete, really good athlete, not ant-level athlete. And we were laughing because it looks like he was trying to make some Anthony Edwards athlete type plays. But I like what he brings to the table as a disruptor, as a defender. He's strong. And then Nikola Bundalo, he was impressive.
I told you.
You did. 12.6 rebounds with 6 of 10 from the floor. I feel like he got every 50-50 ball. He reminded me of David Lee. I remember the first time I saw David Lee was at the McDonald's game, and I was just like, this guy's all over the place. Like, they're not giving him post-ups, but he's just scoring off of running the floor, getting tip-ins.
Good touch around the basket.
What's that?
Good touch around the basket.
Good touch around the basket, finding gaps in the defense when somebody passes him the ball. So he's going to Washington. He's someone that I thought was pretty intriguing. Now, I know we can't cover all of the prospects, but I thought this was a strong McDonald's game. And this is a class that we're going to be covering a lot over the next 12 months. But starting in October, we still got 2025 to cover. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Once again, please check out the Locked On newsletter and subscribe to the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast on YouTube or the YouTube channel. Once again, it's Rafael and James. We are out of here.